Why new Roblox anime games die on release? This is a question I and many other people ask when it comes to these new Roblox anime games, and today I'm going to be speculating what I think the problem is with these new Roblox anime games. Without further ado, let's get straight into the discussion. Exhibit A, the One Piece curse. Now for this section I want to talk about the curse of One Piece games on Roblox as of right now, and what I think developers need to do to break this curse. For example, a game that is well known by now in the community, Pixel Piece,
Garbage.
It was released, and shortly after release it shut down and closed for various reasons, as we all know. What was the problem with Pixel Piece, you may ask? It released with close to no content and on release, and unfortunately the developers were not communicating the full truth behind what the game was and what the plans were going to be going forward with the game. As we all know, the game was also a buggy mess on release, and most of it did get fixed, but unfortunately not everything was set in stone, and after update 1, I repeat, update 1, the game closed down for good, which is utterly insane. And also the developers claiming that the game wasn't going to be a bandit beater, and it ends up being a bandit beater. That was crazy too. Now for my look at the situation, I believe the developers overlooked tons of things before actually releasing the game. One serious red flag was them including trailers and showcases of things that weren't even actually in the game on release, but had to be updated in, which in my opinion is just bad marketing. And the devs also obviously had no plans of actual updates past just adding new islands and fruits, and of course adding new weapons, because after the initial release they dropped an update and it was terrible. We know the Pixel Piece devs truly thought that adding one unique thing to the game would actually make it worthwhile, and it was not worthwhile. Excusing all the other issues present, Pixel Piece was just one and the same with other One Piece games on the platform, as it was a game with a lot of potential but again falls short due to bad management. And this is a prime example of the curse of Roblox One Piece games, and hopefully in 2023 we can get some developers that actually want to break the curse and not lie. Exhibit B, the Roblox anime YouTuber cycle. Now,
Let's see, what title am I gonna give my Roblox anime game video today? This new Roblox anime game is insane and very good, and it is the best of all time. That's gonna get— oh, wait, I forgot one thing.
I want to talk about me and other creators and why I think we are a part of the problem as well. Now, we all know our favorite creators in the community love to do one thing: overhype the absolute hell out of games before they're even released to the public. I am even a bit guilty.
You what?
Guilty of this. I'm not as guilty as like Sly Kage, but yeah. Why is this a problem, you may ask? Well, these games come out with the expectation of being the best Roblox anime game of all time, and this is a serious issue for the devs, and it actually puts a lot of games 6 feet under before they even are released. Again, Pixel Piece had this problem in many other Roblox anime games as well that were released because the public already had the intention of the game being good, because they watched another YouTuber talk up the game and say it's the best thing of all time, and in reality it's just the same old. Also, the Roblox community is generally children, so they fall easy for these tactics. Then when the game comes out, it dies, and the developers get a whole bunch of hate from people because it was overhyped, or it was said to be different from the rest, which in reality is usually cap. Also, please Roblox anime YouTubers, if you are watching this, please stop giving these kids false hope. I get it, views, but this is not a great practice. Stop, okay? It hurts the devs a lot in the process as well, which I think a lot of people don't understand. It hurts the developers more than you think. Exhibit C, Roblox devs and greed. Now, I just want to preface to say this: I see absolutely nothing wrong with Roblox developers going out and getting their bag. At the end of the day, everyone has to eat. Everyone has to get their bag, okay? But this can still be an issue, especially for new and upcoming games nowadays. We all know Roblox games are notorious for having paid in-game transactions called game passes, and these game passes can range from 20 Robux to 5k, depending on how greedy the dev is. The issue I have is when people say, oh, game passes are optional, you don't have to spend the Robux, but when your gameplay is literally 10 times better when you do buy them, it just doesn't make sense. So it becomes a problem, and this is what we call the pay-to-win method most games and most developers deploy. How can greed ruin a game single-handedly? Well, Roblox developers, especially Roblox anime developers, tend to either make one out of the two decisions when making a game. Either make it a passion project where they actually put the time in to make the game actually good, or they make the game for the sole use of making money and then they move on. 9 times out of 10, most developers nowadays do the latter decision. And they release a game, then inject it with predatory microtransactions that obviously improve your experience, then leave the game to make money while they promise updates and other improvements to the game, but in reality they are planning to ditch said game and do the cycle all over again. Which again, the people who paid for these game passes are practically scammed, but again they go to the next game over and over again, buying the same game passes for practically the same game. Like, it's insane. The endless greed cycle, I like to call it. And that leads me on to Exhibit D. I want to call this section of the video unprepared and inexperienced devs and development cycles. Most of the time when a new Roblox game comes out, it is processed through what I like to call the honeymoon phase. This phase is a time where most Roblox players hop on a new game, and for the first week or so they enjoy the hell out of it. And everyone's happy because the devs are happy because they're getting rich and making money, and you're happy because you have a new game to play. But this phase usually ends eventually, and I like to call this phase the post-clarity phase, where you start to realize that said game is in reality not what it was meant to be, and you wait patiently for an update to arrive. Now, Roblox devs tend to do one out of the three things in this phase of development: bring out mini updates every few days to weeks where they add maybe 1 or 2 new features to the game, kinda like how Shino Life or a One Piece game updates their games in a very quick fashion. Or 2, they go to the GPO route or the YBA route, where they give you a huge update every like few months, and they have little small events in between, or they go to drop a game and ditch it.
What more do you want from me?
Which a lot of developers love going. It's insane. They love doing that. If the dev decides to go the first route, they will eventually be overwhelmed with updating the game constantly, and eventually the game will be bloated to all hell, with most content being mediocre and just simply not quality, which leads to the game dying. If the dev decides to go to the second route, they don't have to worry about having to update the game constantly, but in order for the second option to work, the game has to initially have a lot of content to begin with, which most Roblox games don't have nowadays, and surprisingly people don't expect games to have content on release, which is insane. And again, you know what happens when it doesn't have content on release? It dies. But the third option, basically they lose nothing for ditching the game, because they gain the money and then they can move on to the next project and do the exact same thing and rinse and repeat. Have you ever wondered why games like YBA, GPO, Bloxers always stay on top and other games die? Well, it's because of Exhibit E, the release advantage. Now, the release advantage is what games like YBA, GPO, Shindo, and Bloxers all have over the competition: years of content updates and so forth. So every year it becomes harder for devs to top this competition, because it seems as if the next game has to one up the last. Most of the time people just end up sticking to the older games because they have more content and they don't have to wait for updates. So if you are a newer dev, it seems easier to just drop a game and ditch it rather than competing with these release advantage games. This is why YBA, GPO, Shindo, Bloxers, and of course ABA always stay on top, because of these killer games can't keep up. And with that statement is my conclusion to the video, discussing why I think these new Roblox anime games die on release. Now, if you enjoyed this video and you want to see more discussion videos like this one, please leave a like and consider subscribing to the channel, and I'll see you guys in the next video. Peace. And I'm not going to leave for 2 weeks again.